guys, it's Lizzie. So I am done with sophomore year of college, which is insane because that means I'm halfway done with Pepperdine, which is kind of scary and I don't want to think about it. So to sum up sophomore year, I have been an emotional mess. It's like every 2 or 3 weeks there's some like thing after thing after thing that happens that just like makes me cry. God's breaking my heart over and over and over again, and it's really good because I feel like God can mold you the most when you're hurting. And the best thing that I think came out of all of this is that I have had to get emotional support from so many people, and it's shown me what someone needs when they're hurting regarding emotional support. The biggest thing to remember is that you need to make them feel understood. I'd say the number one reason that I don't tell people if I cried is because I feel like they will not understand my emotions, and so I don't even want to talk about it. And so if you have a friend and you're constantly making them feel misunderstood when you're helping them deal with a problem, they're gonna stop opening up about it because they'll just feel so shut out. And so the way to make someone feel like you understand is either through like verbally kind of repeating back to them what they said, or through non-verbals, making it clear that like you understand what they're saying. And so you need to show empathy to them by like arranging your facial expressions in a way that just shows like, you know, you really care about what's going on and it's really horrible what's happening and their emotions are serious. Making eye contact and facing your body towards them, just making it really clear that like you are serious about helping them and you realize that what's going on is important. Something really, really important is emotional validation. So if someone is feeling stressed or bullied or broken, let them know that it's okay that they're feeling that and that that's like the right thing to feel. So what you want to avoid is the opposite of that, emotional invalidation, which is basically where you argue with them like, oh, you shouldn't be stressed out about that because, you know, it's not really that big of a deal because, you know, you'll finish all your work, it'll be fine, like don't worry about it. Or if someone's relative is in the hospital and they're really like hurt by it and like scared, don't just be like, oh, like I'm sure they'll get better, like do not worry about it, we have such good like medical technologies now, like don't worry about it. Saying those types of things, even though I know the intention is to help the person, it actually is like crazy harmful because you're basically letting them know that like their emotion that they're feeling is wrong, that like they're wrong for feeling that. And anytime someone is feeling an emotion, that is truth. What they're feeling, it's truth. And so you need to validate their feelings and like agree with them, even if it initially seems really illogical. Another reason that it's just more wise to validate their emotions is because most problems you cannot fix. And in giving emotional support to someone, trying to fix the problem isn't what they need. I feel like there's fixables and unfixables. A fixable is if someone got in a fight with their best friend and they're really distraught about that, like that can be fixed, that relationship can be mended. An unfixable would be like someone's relative just died or your friend's boyfriend just broke up with her. Something like that is more unfixable in that like it's probably not gonna get resolved, something horrible just happened, they're just feeling horrible right now. You do not want to immediately go into giving advice into fixing the problem. What you want to do first is empathize with them, talk to them about them, let them know verbally, directly that you know how they're feeling and you understand it. And when you're emotionally validating something unfixable, if someone just had their house burned down or someone's dad just died and that's never happened to you, don't tell them, oh, I know exactly how you're feeling. That's not what I mean by emotional validation. I mean like saying things like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry that happened. That's horrible. And I think that the way to approach these situations is to ask questions, and honestly like it really depends on the person whether or not they want you to pry or whether or not they don't want to talk about it. I think that it's always healthy to just talk about emotions, but I mean I'm a very like verbal person, like I love going to counseling, I love like analyzing my emotions, so someone different than me might not necessarily like that, but I think that as long as you're really, really gentle with the questions, I think it can be nothing but beneficial. I feel like regardless of what happened, a really important thing is to slow down and be gentle. Walk over to where they are, sit down next to them and just like be still and be really, really gentle. And by this, I mean like you don't want to like talk really loudly and really fast and just be like really direct and like rah, rah, rah. Like you want to be like quiet and gentle and peaceful. Even if you have a friend, I'm naturally really like direct and abrasive and I can deal with people being direct with me, but when I'm crying about something, I need people to be gentle or it can be hurtful. And so just be really careful with what you say. Say it slowly and softly and carefully and just like be really, really loving and gentle with them. If someone is crying, I feel like a lot of times the best thing to do is to be silent and not say anything and just be still and sit with them. And it's crazy how much of an impact saying nothing can do. Just like being there with them, it's just like symbolic of like you love them and you're there for them, and that can be exactly what they need. I think that physical contact really, really helps because, I mean, like, physical touch is a love language and it's a way to show love to people. If your friend is really hurting from something, you can, like, hug her or, like, put your arm around her. Just, like, sit with her while she's crying. And something else that is really cool is you can, like, kind of, like, gently, like, smooth her hair, and that really, really calms me down. For some reason, when I'm crying and, like, someone's there next to me and, like, kind of holding me or like smoothing my hair, like it just makes me feel automatically comforted and loved, even though we're not even talking about the problem and they're not even trying to fix the problem. And that's like the biggest thing that you guys need to remember is like, do not try to fix the problem because you probably can't fix it. And even if you can fix it, that's not what they need. They don't need you to fix the problem. They need you to show love to them right then. Something else really important is to never make them feel judged. Like reacting with facial expressions, like really surprised at what happened. Like if they're confessing like some sin and you're just like, you did what? Like, you know, you react like really surprised and abruptly, like no, like that's gonna make them feel judged and not feel comfortable talking to you and not feel safe or loved. Judging is mainly in God's domain, and like sometimes you do need to judge, but not right when they're hurting. Like just don't make judgments and don't even like allude to you feeling judgmental towards them. Instead, you want to affirm what they did, not saying like, if it is something like kind of negative that they did, you don't want to be like, oh, like I totally love that you did that. You can gently just be like, oh, like I understand like why you did that. Like make them feel like it's not like horrible. Like they're already feeling guilt probably if it's something like that they're crying about, and so you don't need to like add to the guilt. You just need to comfort them and affirm them as a person. So fixing the situation, don't do it. What else you don't want to do is give unsolicited advice. And so I'd say if you're going to talk while giving emotional support, ask them questions and let them talk. And then if there's kind of a pause in like them explaining to you what happened, or like a pause in the question so you kind of understand the whole situation, then you can kind of give a perspective on it. But what you really want to avoid is explaining the other person's actions immediately, because if someone really hurt you, yes, it really helps in forgiving them to understand why they did it. But right when you're hurting from it, like right when it happens, you don't want to hear like, the reason she was a jerk to you is because she's hurting from this. And it's like, yeah, that might be true, and that's a really good thing to bring up later, but right then, you just need to be like showing love to them and validating their feelings and being like, I cannot believe that she said that to you. You don't deserve to be treated like that. That's not true about you. So focus on validating them as a person and not on explaining it. Then if you want to move on to like explaining the situation, I think that can be really, really helpful, but just be careful to not bring this up so soon that it feels like you're invalidating what they're feeling. You need to first focus on them, focus on loving them and understanding their emotions, and then go on to understanding the situation and the other people in the situation. Something that I absolutely love when I'm hurting is for someone to pray for me right in that moment. Just like take my hands and just like pray together about it. Like it just is so powerful. And I think that if you are praying for a friend and it's an unsolvable problem, like a death in the family, or like her parents are getting divorced, like something really intense happened that you cannot change and that probably isn't going to change, pray for her to feel peace about it, and pray for the other people involved in the situation. And if your friend has been hurt by someone else, pray for the other person. We're supposed to love our enemies. We're supposed to love the people who hurt us. And so like pray for the other person too. I think the biggest thing to do like when you're praying for someone who's like hurting from something is pray for them to feel God's peace, and thank God like in the prayer for listening to the prayer. Thank God and tell God that like you're so grateful that like he can feel her emotions even more, and that like we know that he understands our feelings even more than we do. Just like confirming those things is really important. And I think that like Revelation, it's a really important book in the Bible if you're thinking about like emotional support, because there's all these like trials going on, and like I mean, the first like four chapters, 3 chapters are like warning the churches, like, you know, you're about to like get killed, like a bunch of you are going to be persecuted, like keep holding on, and if you get martyred, then you'll get a reward in heaven. Basically what they're saying, like be prepared to die. And then in Revelation 4, it talks about the throne room and like God being in control, and where there's like this spiritual perspective of like, you know, the world looks pretty horrible. It looks like God is just letting us be hurt and like doesn't even care, and it's completely out of control. But then from a spiritual perspective, it's like, you know, God is in control and he's there. Just like recognizing that God is like listening and that God feels with us is really, really comforting. There's this song by Fireflight called Name, and I'm gonna link it below. You guys should all go listen to it. It's just kind of like, it's like he hears you, he knows you, he feels your pain, he knows your name. Just something else that one of my friends told me is that emotional support is all about leading someone into God's presence. And so if it's with something really intense that's like an unfixable situation, if you just like open your Bible to passages that are like really comforting, and you just like have the other person like read it out loud, that can be so powerful. If there's a situation that is unfixable and that it's horrible and it's painful and there's not really anything you can say or do to make it better, open up a Bible and focus on God. Some really cool chapters to read with the person would be Isaiah 43, Psalm 30 and 31, and then the end of Psalm 73 would be a really powerful thing to read. My innermost being was wounded, yet I am always with you. You hold my right hand, you guide me with your counsel, and afterward you will take me up in glory. My flesh and my heart may fail, but God is the strength of my heart and my portion forever. Psalm 3. But you, Lord, are a shield around me, my glory, and the one who lifts up my head. I cry aloud to the Lord, and he answers me from his holy mountain. Psalm 6, verse 2. Be gracious to me, Lord, for I am weak. Heal me, Lord, for my bones are shaking. Psalm 22, it talks about God not helping when he's hurting. My God, I cry by day, but you do not answer. By night, yet I have no rest. But you are holy, enthroned on the praises of Israel. Psalm 23 would also be a really good one to read with someone. Psalm 27 would be really powerful to read with a friend who's hurting too. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom should I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Of whom should I be afraid? Psalm 31. Lord, I seek refuge in you. Be a rock of refuge for me. Into your hand I entrust my spirit. You redeem me, Lord. I trust in the Lord. I will rejoice and be glad in your faithful love, because you have seen my affliction. And so I think that the Bible, the purpose of it, yeah, it fulfills you, it comforts you, but I think it's also for helping your friends when they're hurting from things. And so if you like read the Bible a lot, you'll be able to like, depending on how your friend is feeling, after you've like validated their emotions and talked about it, you'll know like what scripture to open up to. And I mean, these are some like great examples of ones, but I just think it's so powerful if like when your friend is hurting, you know, you open it up and you have them read scripture. It's just like, this is powerful, this is life, this is God infused, and it's gonna be able to make an unfixable situation. It's gonna help them find peace in that. And then another part of emotional support that's really important is tell your friend that you're going to pray for them. And actually pray. A really cool way to let people know that like you are consistently praying regarding it is to ask for updates later on about like how they're doing, how they're feeling about it. Make sure to hug this person and let them know how much you care about them and that you love them. Don't promise them that it'll get better, because it won't. Don't promise them that everything will work out, because a lot of times it doesn't. But if you just show love to them and you validate their feelings and you lead them into God's presence and you pray with them, showing them all that love, it will give them peace and strength. And I think that's what we're called to do as Christians, because sometimes when someone is so hurting, they can't feel God's light in his presence, and that's when other Christians, God speaks love through them and helps the person feel better about themselves. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you all so, so much. Bye!